Today we're going to talk about solving absolute value. So what is absolute value? A lot of kids know absolute value just represents that. And all they know is that whatever number you plug in for x, it turns to positive. But the question is why? Why does it turn positive? So what's the reasoning behind it? Well, absolute value just means the distance away from zero. That's important. The reason why that's important is because distance is always positive. Distance always has to be a positive miles. So when I talk about examples of distance, when we talk about word problems, I talk about what happens if you drive your car and then you go 10 miles forwards, then your odometer says 10 miles, but what happens if you go reverse and go backwards for 10 miles? Does your odometer go back to 0? No, it goes to 20. The reason why is because distance is always positive. So our goal is to figure out how far away is it away from 0. So if I say absolute value of 2, well, the distance of 2 occurs in 2 spots. It occurs at -2 and +2. So when you take an absolute value of -2, it's going to be 2. If you take an absolute value of +2, your answer is also 2. So this is important because when we start solving, there's actually 2 answers when we solve absolute values. So we're going to talk about that today. And I'm going to explain how do we solve it. How do we create 2 equations from this? All right. So let's take an example. Our first example is absolute value of x plus 1 equals 9. So your goal is like multi-step equations. Our goal is to get this guy by itself. That's your first goal. So how do you get this guy by itself? Is it? No. It has a +1. So your goal is to move that +1 over. How do you move that +1 over to the other side? What can we do? What's our opposite? So instead of add 1, we're going to subtract 1. So we have absolute value of x equals 8. That means from 0, where does it have a distance of 8? What places does it have a distance of 8? So if I do a quick sketch, at 0, you have a distance at 8 here, but you also have a distance of 8 there. So you technically have 2 answers. So you have it at 8 and you have -8. So the way I split this, I actually split this. I'm going to practice this now because we're actually going to use that when we have a multi-step. So let's take a look here. You have x equals 8. So the left side, I just rewrite it how it is. The other side, you make the other side negative. So you have 2 answers. You have +8 and you have -8. And the same thing, we're solving. So the cool part about solving is we can always plug it back in to check our answers. So if I plug in 8 here, absolute value of 8 plus 1, is that equal to 9? Well, what is the absolute value of 8? It's +8 plus 1 equals 9, so that's true. So that one's true. Let's try -8. If I plug in -8 here, right, let's subtract 1. Well, we don't have to even do that. What's the absolute value of -8? It's +8 again. So is that true? Yes. So both answers are true, but you can kind of tell when we plug it in to test it, it actually explains why they give us 2 answers, because both positive and negative of an absolute value will turn positive. So that's very important in this case. Let's try another problem. What happens if there's lots of things going on inside the absolute value? We're going to talk about transformations later. So if there's transformations occurring, let's just make up problems like that. So absolute value of x minus 1 plus 3 equals 5. Think of this as a parenthesis. So we're going to do it last. But your goal is to get this guy by itself first. So the question is it by itself yet? No, it has a +3. How do you get rid of that +3? You subtract 3 on both sides. That goes away. So the absolute value of all that equals 2. From here, we're going to do what we just did. We are going to split this to 2 equations. The left side keep it the same. So you're just going to rewrite it. I'm just rewriting this just like how it is without the absolute value. On the other side, you're going to do x minus 1 equals negative 2. So that's how we're going to set this up. So now we have two equations, single step. So you're just going to solve. So you're going to add 1 here. So you have x equals 3. And you're going to add 1 here. And then x equals negative 1. They both will work. We can test it. Let's plug in 3. Let's plug in negative 1. See what happens. If we plug in 3, 3 minus 1 is 2. Absolute value of 2 is 2. Plus 3, that's 5. Check. Negative 1. You plug in negative 1 minus 2. Oh, negative 1 minus 1 is negative 2. But what is the absolute value of negative 2? It's positive 2. 2 plus 3 is 5. They both work. We're good to go. So that concludes our lesson for solving absolute values. Let's kind of recap it. Your goal is to get the absolute value by itself and then split it by making the left side, rewrite the left side just how it is, the right side, make the equal sign on the other side negative. All right, and then solve, and then you can test your answers. So we're going to try 3 practice problems, your beginner, your intermediate, and your advanced. All right, our beginning problem, let's try. It's a basic problem. Minus, let's put an absolute value there with 2 plus 1 equals 5. Your goal is to get the absolute value by itself and then split it and then make one positive, make one negative. So I'm going to give you about 30 seconds to a minute. Try your best. This the only way we learn this is by trying your best. But you guys are here because you want to learn this. So just try your best. If you get it wrong, it's okay. We will fix it for our next 2 problems. Go. All right, let's try it. Your goal is to get that guy by itself. You have a minus 1 and a times 2. Let's move the plus 1 first. On both sides, you have 2, absolute value of x equals 6. Absolute value is still not by itself, has a times 2, so you're going to divide by 2. Be careful, a lot of kids' misconceptions, they want to distribute this into the absolute value. You cannot. Think of the absolute value as like force fields where you cannot go in, you can't bring anything out. Alright, so then here you divide, you have the absolute value equals 3. We're not done yet because the absolute value equals 3, so all we have to do is split it. Left side, just rewrite it, x equals 3. The right side, what do you have to do? Good, make the other side negative. So you have 3 and then negative 3. Test your answers, make sure it equals 5, and we're good to go. Alright. Intermediate problem, let's try this one. So you have 2x minus 4 plus 2 equals 6. Your goal is to get that guy by itself first. Try your best. Try to look at what you did in the beginning problem and try your best from this. Go. Alright, subtract 2. We want to move that to the other side. So you have 2x minus 4 is equal to 4. We have to split it. So left side what? Just rewrite it the same. So I didn't change anything. The right side, your goal is to make the right side of that negative. So now we're going to solve this using multi-step. What's my first step here? We have to add 4. So you have 2x equals 8. And then is x by itself? No, we're going to divide by 2. So you have x equals 4. That cancels out. 8 divided by 2 is 4. So you have one answer. We're not there yet. Let's try this one. You add 4. What happens when we add 4? We get 2x equals 0. If you divide by 2, we get x equals 0. So 2 answers. We have 0 and we have 4. So 2 answers. If you plug it in, it'll work. See where your mistakes are. If you got it right, great. Let's challenge ourselves for the next problem. Let's go to our advanced problem. Alright, our advanced problem. Hopefully you guys get this one right. Let's try this guy. Minus 1 equals 5. Lots of multi-steps within multi-steps, but try your best. Your goal is to get your hint, get that guy by itself. Do not distribute the 2. We cannot do that. So what other math do we know to get rid of that? Give about 30 seconds to a minute. Try your best. Go. Alright, let's try it. Do I divide the 2 or do I add the 4 first? I have to add the 1 first. We want to get everything to the other side. So we get that. Like I said before, you can't distribute the 2. You gotta just divide it out. So you have 3x plus 1 equals 3. Now what do we have to do? Yes, we have to split it. What goes on the left side, just rewrite it. Good. What happens on the right side? You make it negative. Perfect. So then we just solve this. So you subtract 1. So you have 3x equals 2. 3x equals 2. How do you get the 3 away? You divide by 3. So you have x equals 2/3. The right side, what you have to do, same thing, subtract 1. You have 3x equals negative 4. And you divide by 3. So you have x equals negative 4/3. So you have 2/3 and then negative 4/3. We have 2 fractions, but it's okay. Fractions are fine. Plug it in, double check to make sure they work. I would practice checking and get in the habit of doing that. It is important that you guys do that. So that concludes our lesson with solving absolute values. Hopefully these videos helped you. Please subscribe to my channel. Please turn on your notifications and let's get ready for some more videos. Good job.